Oh, there we go.
Yep.
He's recording.
Yeah, he doesn't have his mic on.
Peter, can you unmute and let us know that you can participate?
Yes, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, Peter. How are you?
Good, good. I'm on my phone,
That's
so
it. This was Susan speaking to you. Not that you know all our voices yet. So, we're called to order. Roll call. So we know Peter's here. Michael Griffin, Suzanne Polidor, Ava Boyce, Dee Dee Forte, Susan Sterry, and Celeste Brooks are at the meeting. I did not hear from Duncan, so he may still be coming at this point in time. Did you all get a chance to read your notes?
Yep.
Minutes? I didn't realize Corin and I blabbed on so much last time.
They were very detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, Cynthia did these. So, did anybody who was here not find any mistakes, or did we miss something? Or I didn't, but
I didn't either. Should we move to approve them, or?
I'm not Michael. And
Oh, okay, oh, sorry.
I wasn't here,
Yes.
so I'm just reading them, and they appear to be very thorough.
And you're all set. Okay. All right. Yeah. I can't move. Right. You.
Oh, I moved to approve the July 2023 minutes.
Seconded.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
all right.
Thank you, Peter.
Vote over the,
Did you have a question, Peter?
can I vote over the phone? Or is
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this after all this time. Yes, because we have a quorum here, so you can vote
Okay.
off-site, so on Zoom.
Okay, remind me, who made the motion? Ava did, right?
Yep.
So seconded?
Either Sue or Celeste, I'm not sure.
Sue, right? Okay.
Either one.
Let me just grab it.
I just want to make a quick note, because it's not on our agenda. The cleaning of the blue signs, Dee has found the exact formula, and they are spectacular. They look brand new.
They do.
Took all the mold and everything
Your
off.
sister. Your sister is the one that gave me the.
And she passed it on to Corin, because he has some flagpoles and things like that that are made out of similar material and not metal. So he was happy to get that so he could clean his flagpoles, because they were getting pretty black. So just to give kudos to our team member here. So Point of Graves update. There last week, Corin called me and told me that a big food truck backing down into Gino's took not the tall part, but they were backing down Mechanic this way and moved the parts that we've been talking about that have sunk, pushed a big section of it over about 2 inches. So I went down and looked at it. It's not going to fall over. I mean, he said that too. It's not going to fall over unless you really look walking by. There were some points, a couple of rocks or top caps came up like this. And I just texted back to him and said, just straighten those out, and nobody's, worse for the wear, because that's the section eventually that will be torn up in the future. So it's still safe in case anybody should ask any of you. Hello, Duncan. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Which leads me to a second question, but this is directed at Suzanne. So we're still in the rotation with all that well testing down there. that they'll test at Point of Grace when they go through all of that?
I would have to check with Peter, because I know we've been working on a different scope of work, so I don't know. I'll have to check.
Okay, I just,
Yep.
checking it. So, and I know that's a little bit further down the road, but just to make sure we're on the list someplace. Yeah, so that's why I told Corin not to worry about trying to push it over or whatever, because it's safe right now and it's going to be taken out of there anyway eventually. Hall Cemetery, that's turned into a really good learning exercise. Last March, when I got the 3 quotes from the 3 arborists or the tree companies, they all agreed the work that we would like to have done, the tree committee agreed to, could be done for $15,000, and that was it. So in the last week, Max he did one walkthrough with a different tree company, and then I've done 3 this week with him, and every single tree company has given us different prices, anywhere from $30,000 up to $150,000. And we have one more meeting next Monday. So both of us have learned a lot. We actually made contact when you go up the driveway. Petra, who lives on this side, we've talked to her a few times, but the gentleman that owns the 2 houses on the other side was home, and he came out and spoke to us. So he's very agreeable.
That's good.
And, we just told him we weren't going to make it a tourist attraction, that we just wanted access to it, both for the city to maintain it and for anybody that should happen to want to go up in there and check out any of the headstones in the future. What we sort of discussed today, after getting such varied information, and we also went from using, I don't remember the exact size, but 120-something foot crane that costs probably $800,000 being parked in someone's driveway, to other expensive equipment coming up hillsides with cranes that they're not sure that they can get up to, or where that path goes in like this and then goes straight back. Having to bring wood out, to having to have detail out on the street so that they can take care of the wood. All of which, when I discussed this back in March with these other 3 people, including Knowles, which is a very big, none of that was even part of the having to come over here. One company wants to put one of their, whatever the machine is, called a spider machine, wants to open up Petra's back gate that's back there and set it on her property. So,
That's going to go over well.
Other people want to use the other Jeff White's backyard, and he's already, made a statement they did that once before, and there's still divots in his ground. So what Max and I, and this is the first time Suzanne's hearing it, what Max and I discussed today is maybe going forward, after we get the 6th price estimate, is he's going to sit down and put together what each company, because no 2 companies are even close in their vision on how they're going to do it. So he's going to, put that together and put a little presentation together, and we would back it up with, how we've contacted people, but then ask all the abutters, who, and there's 6 of them, to have a meeting with us and Max and explain exactly what we've gotten for information, what each contractor would like to do, and they, try to form a real partnership with them before we knock. I have knocked on a few doors and talked to people, and people want it cleaned, but I haven't asked anybody about, can I put a crane in your driveway? Or, approach them so then Max can talk to them and the city can do it. So what we thought was we would get have a public or a group meeting here, explain everything to them, so everybody's on the same page, get their feedback, because sometimes when people say it's no problem, once all the guidelines and everything that has to be done is explained, it can change. So that was our thought at this point in time. Max and I also discussed that, yes, the city could go in and just clean up. I mean, there's a lot of stumps and high bushes and stuff that definitely at least make it more accessible for the city, and to at least start getting it so it's not growing out of control all the time, that they could go in probably for a day, use a brush hog or whatever they need to, and really clean around all the trees that go down in there and really clean out the cemetery itself. And we would turn it into more than phases. So the first phase for us would be going in and doing that. And then, so at least it can be some sort of cleanup and make it accessible, because he wants to get it in shape too. I mean, the city does too.
Yeah, that's a
so
good
they can
start,
take
right?
care of it. But and also that was some of the prices will reflect whether we clean out all the small brush and the stuff laying on the ground, the big limbs, and other companies included that they would do it. Some companies would do wood chips right there and spread them out. Some companies wouldn't. So it's a big learning curve for everybody. So I guess what I'm asking is if this sounds reasonable, like going forward, we won't know. Max will give us a date later on once we get the fourth one, and go ahead and have a meeting, and we can decide if we want to invite people here to this meeting, or Max wants to do it at Trees and what's the
Trees and
Greenery, or if we should just do a 6 o'clock meeting in here so everybody from that part of the community can come in. So, and of course anybody on the committee. So, would I make a motion, or I just want everybody to, or does it even need that? Or are there any objections, I guess, that sort of thing?
Would it make sense to maybe have a 5 o'clock meeting for us, if we could push ours an hour, and then have a 6 o'clock meeting with everyone else right afterwards? So we don't have to gather
To
twice.
be ready, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But the other thing is, we might try to do it the same time as we have a meeting, but it might end up, because of Max's schedule, might be a different night. But I mean, we can hash that out. He's agreeable to whatever, because he really wants to get the project going. So, but we want to really form a really good relationship with the butters going forward.
Yeah.
So, and I did speak to, as I said, to several of them, and it gets more complicated because the ones when you go down the back, the woman's property that's nice and clear and her house is over here, she's moving out, but the gentleman across the street is actually buying her house. But there isn't a set date, so that would even slow it up to get an easement to use that part to come up over. So it's just one of those things,
So Petra's selling?
No, not Petra. When you're at the actual cemetery on Brackett Road.
Okay. Oh,
So Brackett Road, yeah. So
Petra's
there's,
been so supportive. It'd be hard to
yeah.
lose her.
No, she came out today and talked to Max, and she's,
Yeah, she is. She's
yeah. Yeah, she asked us not to step on, she has a little thing there, she asked us not to step on that. We said, no problem. So Max marked it out so that people wouldn't go up on top of her her little walkway there, so, yeah, that's another complication to all of it, so.
Is it absolutely necessary to get all those trees down, or can any of them or be left and just clean up the cemetery?
Well, there are a number of trees that Max would like to take down anyway, because several of them are dead, and they're really big trees. So his thought is, he wants to get in there and take care of some of those trees, but he doesn't want to do it in piecemeal, so if we're going to take down more trees, he'd rather do it all at once. Can we, we could do it in phases, but he would rather do it as one sweep. The biggest problem is right when you enter, there is no room there for people to walk by and not potentially get hurt too. It's the 7 or 8 trees that are almost touching Petra's fence, and it's not easy to walk by those all the way down. But we could, and it wouldn't be easy for the city to get, even if they weed whack down in there. Well, he doesn't want to make that decision for the people that mow, whether they could just go down back and just weed whack it down all the time, or if they wanted to do something else. It's a potential. That's what Max and I talked about to get it started, would be clear what we can along the whole path on the ground, because there's a lot of stuff on the ground and a lot of stuff, bushes, and do the same inside. Because he can take down a few of the really small trees inside the cemetery without any problem. Anybody in his crew can, or, he has a crew that can do that. They take trees down all the time. So if it comes to that, that's where we could start, clear that part, get the headstones back into shape, and fill in a few gopher holes, and be on our way as far as starting to restore it.
Are there any roots or anything that are uprooting stones or coming to the surface, or
No.
that could cause future problems? Okay.
Not right now.
Okay.
Not right
Thanks.
now, but, no, not right this instant.
Good.
But, like I said, this is DPW's, domain, and so whatever they want to do as far as, do we do it in steps? Do we really have to take down all these trees? Oh, and the other thing I was going to say is I've asked every dealer, not dealer, I don't know what I'm thinking about. Oh, car dealer. The guy that's going to buy the property is a car dealer. That if we eliminated some of the really big trees, there are 4 or 5 really, really big trees down in there. If we eliminated those big trees, if it would drop the price. And they all said no. Once they hear and they have the equipment, it doesn't really make any difference whether they take down 10 trees or 25 or whatever it is. So, and Max, tried to wiggle, let's, we have a limited budget. We need to do this and safely and what have you. So,
Are you dealing with the same people that gave you the preliminary estimate?
Two of them were, and that's when I learned my big lesson. But the rest of them are new. Actually, they all know each other, and a couple of them had said, well, we don't have this equipment, so why don't you call so-and-so, like in Rochester, or call this person, or... So that's what Max has been doing, and a couple of them even talked about, I'll do the cemetery and you do the pathway, that sort of thing, so. But it's going to take time to figure it out. So, any other questions, or?
So my suggestion is this, which is, I think, once you finish with the next, company, you and me and Max and maybe Peter Rice or someone else, if he wants, from Public Works, sit down and kind of put our heads together, kind of figure out how to best tackle this with the money that we've got and want to spend. Get the feedback in terms of individual neighbors who might be
Right.
more willing than others maybe to help us stage, because
Yeah,
Susan is right. often it's the mobilization cost because they're bringing in the crane. So once you get set up, you might as well do
Yeah.
as much of that big work as you can, because you're paying for that mobilization to get out there. And then once
Yeah.
we look at that, then we'll figure out, as long as the committee is relatively okay. I mean, it's a city project, kind of at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need a formal vote to
Yeah.
hold a public meeting, because we often hold project meetings.
Yeah.
But I think we'll work and see if we can find a time, and if it can dovetail, on the back end of something that you already have on your calendar is great.
And the other thing
So-
too is, some people said it would take like 5 days or less. One of the guys today said, "Oh, we'll be here for 3 weeks," and then said we would have to pay for a detail. I mean, details are incredibly expensive, because they don't want to do it on the property. They wanted to pull it out onto South Street, so we'd have to block off the street, or, where they're
Oh, right.
working. You have to have a detail, and 2 or 3 of them said that, so. And I can't say anything. Of course, I have an opinion, but Max, too, like, we feel like, the right person, a couple of them said, stuff could be done right on in the city area and not have to tie up people's driveways, especially the people coming off of South Street, and have to pay for details and stuff like that. I mean, we may be wrong, but it doesn't hurt to shoot for that. But once we get all the information,
Yeah.
of course, Peter will have a big say in how he wants the city to approach it, so.
Yeah, because there may be some options, so we'll get some heads together, once we've got the
But,
numbers.
I mean, it was really good, because it really opened up my eyes and Max's eyes about, there are a lot of ways that it can be done, so, and it doesn't have to be done by one person particularly, so we could sort of take a little bit of everybody's that we liked, and whatever, that's down the road. So that's the latest from point, not Hall Cemetery, sorry. Hall Cemetery. Union Cemetery. We're, as you know, the people that have come down there to help spray, Union is pretty moldy, black mold, more so than the rest of them. And spraying just the D2 on the various stones when you know it's going to be sunny out for a while really does help kill a lot of that black mold. And then we could go in behind and actually, like on a regular scheduled Saturday, go back in, respray, and actually brush. Because we've learned from experience, some of the ones like in North Cemetery that were practically black with mold, sometimes you have to brush them 3-4 times, and they're still not entirely. And I don't mean like they're shining, not that they're shining, is like you still really can't read what's on the front of it or on the back of it, and if you leave it, it's just going to continue to grow. So,
There's so much shade.
Yeah, that's why, yeah.
That's the problem.
That's the problem,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
It's pretty, but a problem.
yeah. The what was it? Oh, Union does get some sun in the morning low, and I think on the backside when it's setting in the west, it gets some sun at that point. I've read the directions again, and you don't have to have sun. It still says on the directions that you can just spray anything and walk away, and that will help with whatever kind of mold or fungus or whatever you're doing. So that's why Michael and I talked briefly, and maybe trying to get a few more people just to go down and spray last week when it was hot. But it just didn't work out for all kinds of reasons. And so I thought this Saturday, if we get enough people, people can go ahead and start scrubbing headstones. I mean, the headstones you sprayed last time in Union, they're much cleaner. They're not perfect, but it really did make a difference on what was going on. So Franny is our point man from DPW, and he loves to spray. So he doesn't like standing around. So I know for sure he'll start spraying stuff. But if there are other people that come, and that's how I listed it, that don't feel like they can, really scrub anything, they're more than welcome to spray down through the cemetery.
Is there any way that they have, like, the kind of spray that you can just hold and go,
I'm going to text Corin again. I forgot to ask him about that. He did get more supply, more D2, and
Because I remember
some more-
when I sprayed that, my hand was numb after I finished.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so let me write that down. I'll see. What do you call those? Is that a gallon?
Pressure sprayer.
The pump one, yeah. Is that just a pump? You have a
Get to the details on it. You can borrow mine this weekend because I'll be at camp.
Oh,
Say, I have one, but I can't get it to pressurize. So if anyone knows the trick to it, you can have it for.
oh, well, bring it. Who knows what? Oh, well, I don't know that. Are you coming?
I don't
If you-
know. I'm usually like out of town on Saturdays, so
That's fine. Or let me know and I'll pick it up at your
I'm
house.
actually volunteering for the Italy.
So am I.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah. Is that this weekend?
That's Sunday, but there's a
But
lot
we
of
have a-
volunteering stuff for
Oh, yeah.
Saturday.
Meeting on
Oh, no, I'm sure.
Saturday
That's-
morning.
It's like very intricate costumes that they want you to wear. Is that true?
I think that was for the ball that happened at Jimmy John's last week. I didn't go to that. It was too pricey for me. But
Okay, well, if you get a chance, I can pick it up or.
I'm just downtown too. if you want to
Okay.
go.
All right. What else? So you won't be there either?
No.
Just joking. I'm just joking. That's all right. I must have emailed about 30 people who are on the list. So, and the other thing is, maybe you can tell me, I tried to post it on Unofficial Portsmouth, and they wouldn't let me post this time. And they said, you cannot, this is not acceptable. Look and see why not. But I couldn't find where I could find out why they wouldn't let me post it.
It's been on there before.
I know. So yeah.
I could message one of the admins if you want.
How do you contact the admin? I didn't even see
I
that.
just know who
Message
they
them.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. There may be a misunderstanding, because the one that I posted has a picture of George Rains, has a picture of the George Rains ship that he built and named. It just has descriptions of, he built 31 ships during his time frame. His house and boatyard was right there on North Mill Pond. And, I just said there are a lot of other shipbuilders in this cemetery
Yeah.
that played a big part in our early history.
If there's anything even slightly political about a post, they won't let you post it because there's a rule of no politics on the page.
Yeah, I know. I
But it's
posted
been on
about Whipple
several
one
times.
time.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not hearing anything that you said would be
Yeah,
unacceptable.
so that's all right.
It could be that the images they're always concerned that it might be a copyright with the images and they don't want to put them in,
Okay.
I don't know. I've seen all kinds of stuff on.
Well, if Celeste can find out, it's still not too late to post tomorrow, so. But anyway, it's out there, and whoever shows, and that's.
Are we headstone cleaning all summer?
Yeah,
Okay.
next one is September, the first weekend in October. We published it
Right.
back in the, yeah.
Right, I know. So wait, you're doing it all summer, or you're not doing it until September?
We're doing it this Saturday,
Okay.
and then the next one will be the first Saturday in September and the first Saturday in October.
Okay.
Unless a group comes up
Yeah.
and wants to do it, we can do it during the week. So Corin, that works perfect for him during the week. Though this has worked out well for him too. He has no complaints that, he said people are volunteering to do the cemetery, so that's a good thing. All right, so Celeste, it would be great, yeah. Fundraising. I have made an appointment to meet with the president of Piscataqua Bank next week. I know who she is, and my money has been there forever, and my family's, all my family and stuff have banked there forever, and my grandparents, who used to have money when they're, substantial amount of money, their trust took care of it, but they've been gone for 20 years, so. So I'm going to approach them to get, ask them, explain to them what's going on, what we're doing, different projects, and then also ask for her help for tips about who, what, where, and when should probably start reaching out to. So
I think at a previous meeting, I mentioned that I looked at a video on fundraising. It was
Right,
on
on the state.
The Historical Resources website for the state. And everything that they said that you should do would not surprise us. I mean, you could be the Girl Scouts and figure out what they said to do. But the one thing that they stressed constantly was the one-on-one conversations, or talking with different groups, or something like that, going to the Elks Club or whatever it is, that is by far the most effective thing and the most long-lasting thing. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, I'm glad you support that or brought it up. As far as talking to groups, I've talked to a lot of groups, not for money, but for volunteering for headstone cleaning. But that doesn't mean we can't ask them. I mean, Rotary, we can certainly, somebody wants to speak to Rotary. That's what I'm doing. This will be my first, I will let you guys know what they suggested. And my other question about fundraising is to Suzanne. Is it all right now to reach out to all the projects that have been okayed for down around North Cemetery, to approach those developers now?
Thinking.
Nick had said when he was here, he gave me names and numbers. He could just go contact them. And I said, well, I don't think I should do it until they have been approved and they're going forward. So
They're all, if we're talking about the same couple of projects along Deer Street and
Yeah.
that whole area, they've all been approved by the land use boards. Some of them still have pending, sort of reaching agreements on license agreements to use various portions of public property. So why don't I look at the list, because some have been through and some haven't. So why don't you and I touch base, and I'll let you know which ones are through the process. Most are finishing up in the next month or two.
okay.
So they're moving along because they're getting ready to get started. So I could give you the list. I think once we're through all the public licenses,
Right. Okay.
that would be
yeah.
a good time to make your reach out.
And I may reach out to Marga, who happens to be an Elk. Her son owns the house right next door to Point of Graves.
Graves, yeah.
And so to do an introduction, I mean, I've been tempted to knock on his door, but I think it would go better if Marga would at least give him heads up or communicate with him, because he may not be interested at all. So I'll work on that. She's on vacation for a couple of weeks right now. So if any of you think of anybody, I mean, it doesn't have to be a big amount. I mean, if somebody wants to donate $100 or $500 or whatever, you can assure them that it will go right into, which account does it go into? The trust or the?
It can either go into the trust itself, in which case we have to pull it out the trustees, or we have segregated some of the money for the data entry. So that we've
Right.
set aside specifically for.
But you can tell them honestly, because at first when we were doing this, that's a lot of the feedback I got was like, oh, it won't get used, it will go someplace else and that sort of
If
stuff.
they have any of that concern, then tell
Yeah.
them the trust.
Yep. So, in a casual conversation, if any of you talking to your rich friends, or not so rich friends. I'm joking around, but I'm serious. As far as, you never know. And at this point, we haven't received any donations, so, other than from Carrie. And so we got to do something, or try to do something at this point, hopefully, to generate. And, I'll wait until after that. So I want to ask you about the RAC cards.
I have gone around and just this week and redistributed them. And I had a very interesting thing happen at the library because, they have like a carousel downstairs. And I just went in to check last week, and there were none there.
Have you
But
upstairs?
they're upstairs. So I actually went before I came to the meeting and today, and with a whole stack of them, and I was very surprised that they would not let me put them in the carousel. They were going to check and get back to me, and I was stunned. But other places have accepted them willingly. The Chamber loves having them. The kiosk loves having them. The Discovery Center loves having them. But this was just a very funny thing. So
They have 3 different sections for rack materials.
at the library, yes.
So one's in the back, past over where like the Z's are for the movies, and that usually has stuff like, camping locations,
Right.
fun splash town, that sort
Right.
of thing. Ours are up near the reference section because you can look all that stuff up.
Yes.
In special collections.
Right, I know that, but people don't, I wanted them in the front where people see them. I would never have known they were upstairs myself, except I happened to go up to, look on some things about the house that I live in. And I would have never known that they had been moved upstairs. So as it turns out, I'm trying, but
Oh, no,
we have
it's
gone
great.
through,
We
I
don't-
have distributed half of them.
That's great.
So,
So did you leave them there?
yes, I left them.
Okay, so since I actually have to go to the library after this for other things, I will just check in and,
Thank you.
and if I don't reach,
Okay.
I'll just kind of
They-
see. They may have they have a lot of policies.
Yes.
And so there may be a policy that is kind of governing
Uh,
where they put them. But let me just
The last time I was
Inquire on
there, they said, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have them," and we picked out a spot and all that stuff. So I wasn't prepared for today, but that's all right.
I got to
It'll
go
work out.
anyways right
Thank
after
you.
this. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So they said, well, we'll see. So I said, well, I'm leaving you my phone number, so please call me. You would think I had the Hope Diamond or something.
They have quite
but
a few new people downstairs too, or
yes,
faces.
yes, she did say that she didn't feel she had the authority. So,
No,
in
great.
all fairness, but I am keeping up on it.
I've seen them around town and
And,
stuff. yeah.
As I said, half of them are gone, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
But that's another half for next.
Yeah.
We'll get 2 years out of that batch, so that'll be good.
And personally, I go through town quite a bit because my daughter just lives over the bridge in Kittery, and tourists haven't been that big. It's been real sporadic.
Yeah.
And a couple of the restaurants that I visit quite frequently have said, numbers are down. They're not down terribly, but, numbers are down for this time of year. So, well, that's good. Thank you. The other database, I spoke to Pat, I can't think of her last name.
Ainsworth.
Ainsworth, right.
Yep.
Briefly last week, and she's the new head of technology, is that it?
She's the CIO. Yep.
I spoke to her briefly, and she's new. However, she did email Alan Brady, who we were working with on the project, and that Alan got back and said he had thought, the last thing he had heard, that the outside company, and Adam is the person handling it, had sent Katie and I, or definitely Katie, but she would have let me know, the prototype. So we could work out any bugs with it and get back. Well, Katie never got it. So now it's back in the process, whatever, it got lost in the traffic. So I think he got back to you today.
I just saw it this afternoon briefly on my phone, but I did open it up and I can see that there's a prototype database, so
Okay.
hopefully we'll be able to get that moving again. So,
And almost all, the only cemetery that we're still working on is North, and two of the DAR ladies, Tylene and Barbara, Tylene Juice and Barbara Pambukas, have been going, this will be like their fourth Friday, they've been going in and working on North Cemetery. So when we work on this to see how it works and iron out the bugs, all of our cemeteries, all 6 of them, will be on there in the database. We haven't hired anybody to try to do like the rest of them because we weren't sure what was going to happen. So now that we know it's actually been finished and it's just testing, then we'll start looking for volunteers and people that we can pay to put the information on South Cemetery and the Catholic Cemetery and the Jewish Cemetery. I think those are the only ones that won't be on there right away. And the map's ready to click on any of the cemeteries. It will pop up and show a picture of the cemetery, give the exact address and phone numbers of contacts of people if you want to contact the Catholic Cemetery or what have you. So that's on the way, which is really exciting. And I also spoke to Monty this week, and I'm not sure what happened, but I had tried to put our cleaning in for this week's newsletter, and it didn't show up in the newsletter. So, which, that's fine. He has a lot of really good ideas, and especially for the newsletter. He's going to make up a form so that any of the departments or any of the committees can put in what information that you would like to see in a newsletter, and if it can be put off and used as a filler type thing, then he'll put it in. But if it's something urgent, he'll also try to get it into the newsletter. So, and he also said he wasn't impressed with our website, the cemetery one. So not right now, but in a little while, he wants to take some of the old stuff off, put some new stuff on, and put some more links on there so that people, when they're on other parts of the city website, like in the newsletter or something, they can click right on that and go to and hopefully it will generate some more interest and maybe help us fundraise from $5 to whatever. So that was exciting news. But I thought it was really good. It's going to be like they have at city, the DBW. It's click, and you go in there and you fill out and say the drain by my house on Broad Street is plugged. It needs to be undone. So it'll be that kind of thing. And you'll have immediate access to the person that needs to handle it. So, let's see, rat cards, database, Monty, that's it. That's enough. So, I know we haven't talked about signage that John Shagnon wanted us to look into, to have that. I think it's not too early, but to look at it, but I don't know. You said you would sort of look into it. So.
Yeah, you were going to give me the name of the company that provides that laminated service. They're out of Canada. You never gave it to me.
I'm sorry. And they're out of business. They don't do it anymore.
Sepfolia, yeah. I finally heard back from them.
Yeah.
They got bought out by somebody, and they've discontinued all the Folia products line, so. But they'll do other stuff for us, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have something, I was looking through all of the files that I had last night. I was looking for a particular piece of paper, and I came across this article from 1965, and it has some pictures of what the North Cemetery looked like, and the trees, the big trees that were there that were shut down. So I just like to pass it around to. Sure. Would you like to see that, or you probably were here when that was happening? 1965.
He was just a kid.
Yeah.
Those were all the American elms that used to be in there.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Most of the trees.
Where'd you
that-
get that?
Portsmouth Herald. I got it a while back when I was first started to get involved.
Okay.
You would not believe the kind of copies I have. I was looking, I'm like, I need a better system to keep track of all of these copies that I have.
The Max and the trees and greenery, I don't know if it was everybody on the committee, but was it last year or the year before, they did a walk of North Cemetery and Union, and most of the trees are pretty healthy and are being taken care of. There's only one or two on the street side that will have to come down because they're they're on their way out. But other than that, it's in good shape. And they did, Max went down back, I think I told, it was in the last one, Max did, or his crew went down and they cut the little hobbit hut down in the, on the back wall of Market Street. But while they were down there, they went along the whole way, and anything that was coming over the fence or the perceived shoreline, right, not the shoreline, but the top of the cemetery, cut back anything that was growing in the pathway. So it actually cleared out quite a bit of stuff. So a lot of these people are really, I mean, the city is going to make their jobs easier because we're starting on a regular getting this overgrown stuff out of their way. So.
Is there an official date for the burial to take place at the North Cemetery, or is that still all hush-hush?
We don't have a date yet, but we're
No.
working on one.
And I did talk to the pastor, Pastor Jen. I just gave her the background, so she's happy with that. She wanted to know, you know, how old we thought they were and all that sort of stuff. So I filled her in that it's two youths, two boys, Kathleen said, and a young adult. So she has that information and geared. And it really hasn't, and I have priced out headstones. Oh, you don't know this either, Suzanne, because you've been away. Well, you know, Corin and I went down to measure how big a flat headstone would be, a flat stone. And he said like 2 by 3, and if we could get 2 or 3 inches thick, then it would come up. Because he said his crew just really doesn't have the time, and they probably have the equipment, but they'd have to go through all those granite stones out on, is it Heritage or Constitution, and it would be a lot of work. Not that it couldn't be done, but he says they're really swamped, and that's why we don't have our registry signed for Union done and things like that. So
Who's going to decide what the markers are going to say? You just need a flat marker.
yeah, but you know the price I got? The cheapest one I could find was $1,100, and it was only an inch thick, and it wasn't quite 2 by 3. Not that that bothers me, but I'm just saying what Corin had asked for. And it did say unlimited. Other places wanted to charge us $10 a letter. And it would take 6 months to get it. So, I mean, I did shop around. So, I don't know. I haven't told Corin yet because I haven't seen him I just got my last price last week on what's what. And he recommended several companies, and I did call them. And you know, they weren't as cheap as what they might have been 10 years ago or 5 years ago. So this company is out of Concord, and he's been doing business forever. And it's not quite a 2x3 inch thick, and they would print anything on it that we wanted. And I mean, let's face it, you can't put too much on a stone that big anyway. So Kathleen Wheeler, the archaeologist, was going to work on some wording on what would be on there. So that's, you know, still work in progress at this point. So once we get closer, and it would depend on Corin, how soon we can get the stone. We talked about late fall, like the end of September,
Yeah.
the 1st of October, and inviting the mayor and, you know, of course, we can come and that sort of stuff. But we haven't progressed to that point. And right now, it sort of depends on how soon we can get the stones, because it doesn't make, well, we could,
You're going to identify the individuals or just describe?
we can't, we don't know who they are.
Yeah, Kathleen's did that work years ago, yeah, to try and find.
So here lie the remains of,
Unknown.
Unknown, yeah, from
Yes.
from the 1700s. So,
But I don't know if any mention can be made. They're apparently on the sidewalk. There's a whole bunch of bodies.
they're not on the sidewalk.
That's what I was told.
I know, but they're not on the sidewalk. These remains just the very tip. The wall is right here, and when they were digging the foundation, which they originally weren't going to do, that's where they were. They're under the wall and not the sidewalk. So people are not walking over graveside. Oh, well,
To the best of our
knowledge, right.
Best of our knowledge.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean, after I got that out, I thought, well, we really don't know what's under the sidewalk because no one's ventured there. But as far as these particular, the 3 caskets, they were right under the foundation of the wall that's there, so. And there's 101 excuses why that could have happened, but back in the day, people did what they wanted to do.
It was probably in the 1860s when they wanted to make that road straight, because the cemetery itself, the boundary was like, it was not straight. It went into a little bit of an angle. So when that happened,
probably did.
yeah,
Do you have the papers on that?
I spoke with one of the archaeologists about it,
Then they've got it.
so.
Yeah. So, but anyway, and again, I'm not making light of it. Back in the day, even in the 1800s, people didn't think twice about a lot of things when it came to cemetery and cemetery protocol. So,
They won't complain, they're dead already.
well, no, that's true, but they'll be placed back, and where the pipes are the rough locations of where they were found.
that's
So
true.
they will go back. It would be nice if we could find out who they were, but.
Yeah, I tried. It's just nothing that I found goes that far back.
Well, I asked Pastor Jen, I said, you don't have any hidden records, do you? And she
Is that the
said,
North Church?
So, yeah, and the city wouldn't necessarily have records back
They
then
wouldn't.
saved.
Yeah, they wouldn't have done what was done about putting it in a diagram and say, this person is here, this person is here. It was, they just buried you whatever your family plot was, or so it's not like the diagram I have today,
No.
you know.
And we can't do any genetic testing, like 23andMe it,
I-
you know?
But who we compare them to, though, that would
Well,
be.
that's the thing, if you,
Put it in the database.
yeah, so many people have done it that you find out your relatives based on that. They're like, oh, you have a match that's like 23 people removed of someone in the database.
No, they haven't done that, but, and I say but only in the sense I've been reading up on that about, because I started doing my genealogy again. That, whatever they call the different parts of the genetic testing, they can only go back so far, and I don't think 400 years is they can't go back that far. I think it's something like, and don't quote me, but it's not that far back. I read 2 different articles about in genealogy things on sites that they can go back about 150 years, maybe a little bit more, depending on how close. Well, I should rephrase that. Depending on generations, depending on how fast, each family had kids, you might be able to go back 7 generations for one family, but it's still within that time frame, what have you. So, but that's changing all the time too. And I don't know if it ever came up. I'm not part of that. I don't know if Kathleen's ever thought of that. And,
Having had this discussion at the African Burying Ground Committee
that's right.
several years ago, when there was discussion about whether or not to try and conduct any genetic testing, I mean, really, it depends a lot on the nature of the material and how preserved or not it is. And you might be able to find, again, and, you may get some match, you won't know necessarily.
yeah.
Could be someone who's living in California now. In terms of a potential ancestor. But there is a substantial cost to that testing with something that old.
Yeah.
So, and particularly if they were young people,
Yeah.
then you can generally assume, at least they would not have had descendants in all likelihood if we're talking children. So.
I wish we all had unlimited funds, but
And depending, it's hard when you don't even know the community, because it's hard to ask someone for permission to do that genetic testing. So it's a complicated,
Yeah.
as we discovered, and having
Yeah.
a conversation in another committee about, do you or don't you? Like, make that.
I think it would be so interesting, to do it. That's how you remember the story about that King Richard Plantagenet from England? They found his remains, and it goes back like to the 1500s or something like that. And they found a relative in Canada, I think,
see,
by just doing the DNA testing. But they wanted to find who that King of England was, so their funds were not limited.
yeah. See, like the articles I've read in my genealogy, I started again because that's what got me into all of this. They imply, but who knows what the rest of the world's doing too. So you never know. Anything else, my friend?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those
All
in
those say
favor?
aye.
Tea time?
Bye, Peter.